Hey guys, it's Shalene, and today I'm going to be showing you the much requested how to make industrial techno like Inhalt Der Nacht and Kobosil. As usual, you can get the full project file, samples, MIDI, presets, everything from this video is available right at the top of the description, and if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it's already available. Thank you so much, and yeah, let's get started. So, we're at 138 BPM, a little bit faster than you would say for more normal standard styles of techno. But with this style, it's a little bit faster, a little bit more energetic, so the 138 BPM does help a lot. And the first sound we have here is this little distortion noise, which sounds like this. So the way this is made is it's just white noise inside of operators. So all it is just the white noise, and then you're putting it through a low-pass filter, and then you're distorting it. So I'll show you. We'll just start from the start. So here is white noise. Then we're putting it through the low pass. And you can see when we do that, by turning the resonance up, it kind of creates this tone. And that's what you're hearing. And then when you distort it, you're just bringing that out even more. And there we go. That's how you make the sound. And then we just have it playing like kind of like that, like on the upbeat, and then on the fourth. And yeah, it just makes for like a pretty nice little percussive element to add to your tracks. And so then what we've got going on is after the filter, you can see I have a bit of reverb, then we have the distortion. So I like to usually do this reverb before the distortion because you can hear. The distorted reverb has this cool texture to it, and if you put the reverb after the distortion, you don't quite get that same thing, but then you put it before. And there you go. So yeah, and then after the distortion, just have a bit of drum bass, just to kind of make it even a bit fatter. I'll show you without this. It's a bit thin sounding. But then you add this, and it really fills it out. And makes this like its own sound, and not just like a little bit of white noise. And then finally, I just have a high-pass filter to make sure that there's no nasty low end coming through and getting in the way of the other sounds. And yeah, that is it for the distortion noise. After that, we have this lead, which sounds like this. So here are the notes for this. We're in the key of D minor, and so this is just playing E and F. So basically, if we look at D minor, we have D, the root note, and then E is the ninth, which is just 2 notes up from that root note. And then F is the minor third, which is just 3 notes up. So it's really not that complicated in terms of like how to write a simple thing like this. But if you just want this little ominous like that, you just have to find 2 notes that are semitone apart that are going to be in the key of your track. Because like, you know, if I try to do say like F and F sharp, those are out of key. It's going to sound weird. So yeah, that is the notes for that one. For the sound, it's made using analog. So what we have here is a square wave and a saw wave. The square wave, I have the pulse width turned up quite a bit, and then I also have it detuned a lot because you can hear it has that really buzzy kind of super saw effect going on. That's coming a little bit from this and a little bit from this unison. Here's without the detune on the oscillators. So you can see the unison is still doing quite a bit of it. But then that makes it really work. And then yeah, we've got the filter is turned on. It's not doing anything. Get the amp envelope like that. And then we just have this unison here, which is again pretty heavy. You want this sound to be really buzzy, really detuned sounding, and that's how you get that. And then after that we have this echo doing quarter notes as well as a bit of reverb just to give it some more space. You can hear those kind of working together. You know, this sound is very sparse like this. You can hear it hits and then you don't hear it again for a while. So when you have a sound like this, you have a lot more room to add a lot of like reverb and delay at the same time like this. So I was trying to capitalize on that. Then we have a bit of drum bass. Here's without it. And then with it, you can hear how much fatter that makes the sound. It's bringing out the echo and the reverb, and it's also just bringing out the fatness in the sound And yeah, and then the final thing we have on there is just this high pass filter, just to cut out the low end and make sure it doesn't get in the way of anything else. And yeah, that's it for the lead. After that, we have this atmospheric pad, which sounds like this. So what this is it's just playing D across 2 octaves. You can see that's all it is. Again, we're in D minor. I didn't add any other voices. It's literally just the root note of the key, just to kind of add some nice atmosphere musically. If we turn this off, this thing is really the difference between this just being like a super rough, aggressive track, which is cool in some parts of the track, but then when you have this in, it makes it a little bit more atmospheric and adds some nuance. So it's still industrial and it's still really hard, but there's something a little bit softer there, and I think this is really powerful in tracks to have, like, again, you don't want it to just be, yeah, this is hard industrial techno, you know? Think about how much more interesting it is to have a hard industrial techno track juxtaposed with these, like, smoother, kind of more atmospheric sounds. So that was the idea behind this one. The way that I made the sound with this one is it's just operator. You can see we just have FM with all 4 of these oscillators here. They're all 4 sine waves, and I just have them at different octaves as well. And the last one's detuned a little bit. The third one's detuned a little as well. And yeah, this is what's creating the sound. And then I have it going through a bandpass filter. So here's without the filter. You can hear it's a bit bigger, but then when we turn the bandpass on, it puts it in the perfect place, so that it's not going to be like way in the way of everything else. And it just kind of sits in its own sort of like ambient space in the track. And yeah, then after that we just have a bit of chorus, which is spreading the sound out and making it a bit bigger. This feedback is adding some cool stuff to this too. If I turn this off, and then see how when I turn that up, it just kind of adds that like ominous sort of detune thing going on under the surface. So definitely like recommend using chorus to add that to your sounds. Then we have this echo and reverb, just adding the space to the sound, you know, makes it super ambient and spread out. Then finally we have a drum bus. Even though this is a pad, I still like to kind of fatten it up. Here's without this. And then with it, so you can hear what this is really doing to just kind of tie the whole sound together at the end. And then finally we have a compressor, just sidechaining this to the kick, and that is it for the pad. From there we have the kick, which sounds like this. And yeah, it's just a super hard hitting fat kick like this. You know, it's a bit deeper, a bit darker. But this is the type of kick you want, just like this super hard-hitting, punchy. You can see the transient on this kick is massive. Like, it's just like, it's so long and like much harder than most other kick transients. And then the body of it is just really fat and bassy. So yeah, I've got this one in here that I've made, and then I'm just kind of going through a bit of saturation just to fatten it up. Here's without that. And with it. And yeah, that's it for the kick. And then we have the bass, which sounds like this. So here are the notes. Like I said, we're in D minor, so I've got D, and then it just goes on the 4th bar of every sort of little thing here. You can see it goes to A sharp, which is, if we look at that in the scale, basically A would be the 5th in this key. We'd have D, and then 7 notes up, you have A. So A sharp is just going to be 1 note up from that, but you can kind of hear the relationship there between those 3 notes. Like, they work really well together. So that was kind of the idea. I just took that A sharp and just put it down an octave. So it's a really simple bass line, but it pretty much tells you everything it needs to. You know, it's pretty much just to add that, like, fat bass. Like, that's the thing about this style with the longer basses that I'll say I've noticed, is you don't necessarily want to have them jumping notes every bar. Like, having it just kind of hold out on a long note like this, and then it switches at the end, can be really effective, because you really want this bass to be as steady as possible throughout the track. Like, if you think about it like a rumble kick, or maybe a more progressive track that would just be like say dun 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 on one note for the bass line, it's creating a really, really steady low end because it's literally just that same note the whole way through. And when you switch notes like on this, you can kind of hear it. See how sometimes the bass response changes between notes? So that's why you don't want to be jumping too much. Like if I was going every single bar like across the keyboard, it would kind of mess it up, and it would mess up the bass, and it would feel weird among other techno tracks in a mix. But yeah, and then for the sound with this one, it's 2 layers. So we have this mid bass, and then our sub. So for the mid bass, this is made just using analog. What it is it's just 2 saw waves, or excuse me, a saw wave and then a square wave, which is an octave up, which are detuned a little bit. I got the amp envelope set like that. And then those are just going through this amp here. So here's without that. I've also got a little bit of noise. It's not a whole lot. But then with the amp. So you can hear what this is creating. And I'll get to this low pass filter in a sec. But yeah, so this just creates this really fat, nasty kind of mid-range bass. And really, if you don't have this low pass at the end, it'll be sounding like that, but then the low pass is going to solve that. So yeah, and then what's happening here is I have, after that, an EQ3, which this is what I'm using to split the basses. So we're getting basically, this bass is just the mids and highs, and I have the frequency set to 250 hertz. This is the crossover frequency with the other one, where the other one, you can see, is also... Okay, so I only used the one EQ3 here. My bad, I thought I had used a different one, but then this one has a low pass. So, yeah, we're just using the highs and mids from this bass. And that's the key to this. If you try to use this as the whole bass, you can hear, like, you don't get as good of low end as if you just really use it for the mids and then just kind of put that over top of a fat sub bass. So for the sub, the way I've made this is using operator. It's 2 sine waves. You can see, yeah, they're just, the first one is an octave up. So there's just the first one. And then you can hear how bringing in the second one makes it a lot deeper and fatter. And then they're being low pass a little. So here's without the low pass. And then with it, really subtle, just kind of focuses it a little bit more to the low end. And then those are just playing side by side in this instrument rack. So then after the instrument rack, I have the low pass filter. So here's without that. And with it. So yeah, this might be a bit alarming. It sounds pretty crazy when you turn off the low pass filter. But that's kind of the point. The way you would work this in your track is you would just never really let it get past, like there. Like, that would technically be the top of the filter suite. But this allows you to make sounds that you wouldn't be able to make if you weren't using this low pass. Because, like, again, like, this doesn't sound good without the low pass. But then with the low pass, it creates this really, really cool, fat, mid-rangey bass that you just can't quite get any other way exactly. Or exactly the same. Then we just have some drum bus, which is fattening these two up together. Here's without it. And with it, and you can hear that also just kind of makes them come together and sound like one. Then we have a compressor side chaining this to the kick. And then finally I have this EQ8, which is just cutting at 100 hertz and then notching here. So it's just cutting out some mud from the bass. And yeah, that's it for the bass. And then the kick and bass are in a group together as well, with just a bit of drum bus and a bit of saturator. So here's without these. And then with the saturator. And then with the drum bus. So you can hear how these really fatten it up. It's like you need to do something like this to really glue this low end together and make it work together as one. These two things are how you're really going to get that fullness in the low end that you hear in these tracks. That, like, if you aren't doing this and you're just hearing your stuff side by side, you might be wondering, why doesn't this sound as fat as the pros? Well, it's because you need to take this extra step and saturate them together to really make them sound full and huge and fat and just kind of like one tight low end. Then from there we have the hi-hats. So the main thing I'll say about these, they're pretty straightforward hi-hats. You can see on both of them, we just have a bit of drum bus. On the first one, I've also high-passed it a little. These are just about getting, like, really fat, full sounds like this. Like, this isn't just a little, like a little 808 hi-hat. It's a really fat, hard-hitting sound. Even just for the little background hi-hat like that. And then for the main one, it's this big, fat 909 hi-hat. Again, it's not just going to be, like, a little tss, but it's like a really, like, big sound like this that can fight through the mix and stand on top where it should. And the drum bus helps with this a lot. The other thing the drum bus helps for is, like, if I turn this off, you can hear, see how it's a little bit too pristine sounding? Like, this style of techno tends to have a more gritty edge to it. It tends to be a little bit darker, like the sound design. But the drum bus can actually be really good, as you can see, to add in that darkness, because we're just cutting off, like, the high highs. So now it just feels a bit darker, and I'm doing the same thing on the other hi-hat too, where it's like, without this, it's just a little bit too clean. But then with it, it sounds a little bit darker. And yeah, then the last sound we have here is just the clap, which sounds like this. So this is just this big, fat clap like this. This is the type of clap you want, just something super hard. And so it's like that, right on top of the mix. And then the thing with this one is the reverb. So you can see I've got a ton of pre-delay on here. And yeah, this is something that I've noticed in a lot of both of these guys' tracks, just having like the reverb on the clap that's going like, it's sort of like bouncing off of the clap like that. And this is how you do it. It's really simple. You just add a bit of pre-delay. And keep in mind that little like reverb tail that's coming up, that's almost like its own percussion now. Now you don't just have now we're getting and it's also, you can hear, like, it fits nicely now with the distortion noise, because you're getting like the at the same time. So yeah, that reverb really helps it fit into the mix and make it sound really nice in this track. And then finally, speaking of that, we just have this drum bus, which is really just doing that last little bit of like fattening. Here's without it. And then with it, you can hear like, yeah, just gives everything that proper amount of punch. And it also brings out the reverb in the clap a little bit too. And yeah, so that's me for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe. And let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Like I said in the beginning, you can get this full project file and samples and MIDI and presets. Everything like that is available right at the top of the description. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it's already available. Thank you so much, guys. Like I always say, this is a really great way to support me. I know we're all going through a little bit of a hard time with the events right now in the world, myself definitely included. So it's a great way to help me out and keep me going, so I can keep making you guys these videos and give you something to do while you're off work and while you're just sitting around the house. This is a lot of entertainment I'm providing for you guys. I'm just kidding. Anyway, yeah, so thank you so much, everybody. I hope you guys are having a great day amidst all the troubles that we're going through right now, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.